Shout out to J&J.
So I just want to send a shout out to J&J Sports for having me once again.
This is, episodes, man. You guys got a real good thing going on.
Well, we love to cover sports documentaries here. We're always chatting about them here at J&J Sports. And I thought we definitely had to cover the Brett Favre Netflix documentary.
Oh, man.
It's called Untold: The Fall of Favre.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the documentary starts with an introduction by Michael Vick. And he's talking about how difficult the quarterback position is. And this is interesting because, he's been in a similar situation as Favre, although he completely turned his life around, and he's doing really well now.
Yeah.
So, do you think Michael Vick is a inspiration for positive change?
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of look back at Michael Vick's story, man, it was rough. You know what I mean? Playing over there in Atlanta and having a Philly and having those changes and had to still adjust. And he's still one of the legend quarterbacks. Even though he's retired, he's still one of those talked about quarterbacks. So that's good. That was a good introduction that they had.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Favre, the documentary has talked about a lot of the stuff that he's done, and not all of it was positive.
Right.
And it kind of talks about how he was traded from the Atlanta Falcons to the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
And, this had me thinking about the teams. And I'm wondering, did Atlanta see something bad in Brett Favre? Is that why they wanted to trade him?
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta kind of have a history of kind of just trading people. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. They could have found anything. Or it's something that's we don't know that happened behind the scenes. But I don't feel like it was a valid reason.
Yeah, I know it was like the head coach and the ownership, but the quarterback's coach was talking about how he knew he had an excellent quarterback in Favre. And, looking at this documentary, it talks about some of the stuff that he's been involved with, like harassing a fellow employee, and then also stealing state funds. So this kind of has me wondering, what's better for a former player, to have a tarnished legacy with that Super Bowl win, or no Super Bowls, but no negative attachments and a major legacy left behind?
Ideally, a lot of people would say the no ring, legend, not everything positive, but I'm gonna have to say the ring. Like I said, one thing I noticed about the championships and everything, they all had a kind of bad beginning or story, or they had bad habits, whatever. But I mean, it didn't make him, because he's doing good. At the end of the day, right now, he's not that person. So I would rather just take the trials and tribulations with the ring, and everybody ain't gonna tarnish his legacy. So yeah,
that's a good point. I was kind of thinking about, I guess, somebody who has no negative attachments, but leaving a major legacy. Houston's own J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
That could be a good example.
It's a couple players like, who else, man? I want to think. It's a couple players.
Yeah, there have been a few who just retired who really were so close to getting a ring, but just
couldn't get it, or they wasn't in the right position to get it. So, and sometimes that be the case. That might just be the case. You're the talent. You know what I mean? But you're not on the right team to execute it, because it's all about the team at the end.
Yeah, the documentary covers him harassing a fellow employee at the Jets.
Right.
And, she was talking about it. She was kind of an influencer with the Jets and was making online material for them.
Okay.
And, we didn't hear a whole lot about this when it was going on.
Right.
And I'm wondering, because this is Brett Favre, is that why at the time it wasn't spoken about?
Yeah, it was probably pushed to the side. It probably wasn't that serious at the time, but past stuff come and haunt you. It seemed like it always find a way to come back to you. You could change your life and everything, but somebody's gonna bring up, remember you did something with their reporter, you rude and this and that, and they'll show a clip or something like that. So you can't run from it.
Yeah, she was only signed on for one season, although, if you look at the situation, both Favre and her were under employment with the New York Jets.
Right.
And that has me wondering, why did they let her go after that one season?
That might be why. He might have something to do with that. Because, like I said, if he would, I think back then they were letting a lot of things with players slide. So he probably had favor over that.
Yeah, I remember this was like 2008 or something. So it was a while back.
Yeah.
And do you think they treated her fairly?
Nah, I don't think so. But like I said, you're dealing with a star player versus some, an employee. So they're gonna choose this star player over the employee. If a star player could go to the catering and say, they treat, you're fired, you're done. Because that's their money makers for the, you know what I mean. So that's how you go.
And just to hear some of the things she was talking about and some of the things she experienced from Brett Favre were, nasty texts is what she was saying, or texts of a sexual nature, nude pictures. To just casually send somebody something like that, it has me wondering, do you think Brett Favre has ever done something like this before?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, my thing, why would you do that at a facility? You have to see a person almost every day. You risking, she can keep that, you know what I mean? Good thing she didn't file a harassment charge or anything like that, so.
Yeah, and, she was saying that she was being approached by other employees asking for her phone number, and then finally she was, I think, direct messaged on social media.
Yeah.
And it was, he was being very vague about who he was, saying that he had a crush, and then eventually she figured out who it was.
Right.
And, looking at this, Brett Favre, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
A Super Bowl winner.
Yeah.
And this kind of has me thinking, what about our previous analysis of Hall of Fame players and bad behavior?
Right. It's a couple, man. It's a lot of them. It's a lot of players back in the day, they were on some stuff. But, like I said, the fact of them bringing a lot of money in the facilities and being, the attraction, they let a lot of that stuff slide. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and like the Jets in general, I know they've had some issues trying to find a starting quarterback for a long, long time.
We thought Aaron was the answer. So
that's kind of another interesting wrinkle in this whole thing is, Aaron Rodgers was Favre's successor. So the two of them were on the same team for a while,
right.
And then they both end up going and playing for the Jets for a season.
Right. So it's like he kind of has the similar story of Brett Favre in a sense.
They're kind of following in each other's footsteps
almost.
Yeah. And, so looking at this whole thing and, does it seem like the higher the profile for an athlete, the less accountability there is?
Yeah, the higher it is, the more leisure you get. Now, I think nowadays it's probably a little different now. Like, they're probably a little bit more strict, but back then, I know it was crazy. Because, you didn't have a lot of social media and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff getting done under the table that we would never ever know about. So.
Aaron Rodgers, he makes news all the time, and he's doing all sorts of different kind of stuff. But not stuff like that from what we know, harassing fellow employees.
Yeah. I think that's the only thing that stands out between those two. Aaron always kind of been a positive individual. I mean, nobody's perfect, but he wasn't out. You didn't see him on the news. You didn't see him in jail or anything like that. So
seems to keep his nose a lot cleaner than Favre does.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what about the 2010 season? Aaron Rodgers is the Packers starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And they win a Super Bowl. Is that bad for Favre?
Well, yeah, it kind of make him look bad because, like, you let this guy come in. But it's like Aaron's talented. There's nothing that we could have controlled in that situation.
Yeah, see, that has me thinking about how when you see other teams win Super Bowls, you'll see a lot of previous players come up and talking about the team and supporting the team.
Right.
And in a situation like this, he was still playing at the time.
Right.
Or he must have maybe been happy for the Packers, but maybe upset that it wasn't him.
Right. I'm pretty sure he felt the way, but I'm glad he didn't have any spite or petty activity towards Aaron. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, you had your chance like he had his chance. So, yeah.
And then there was another major point in the Netflix documentary talking about how Favre stole state funds. And this was supposed to be welfare funds.
Right.
And he took the money and put it into making a specific volleyball facility for his daughter's school.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think he did this?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Like I said, he was probably just selfish around that time and just kind of wanted to do what he wanted to do. But I'm pretty sure he regrets it now, and it's part of his life, kind of looking back at that. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah, the documentary was talking about how visible he was after his retirement. He
Yeah.
had the Wranglers commercial. He was doing all sorts of different stuff. He had the it was the thing for the gold wraps, and I'm just wondering, why didn't he just pay the money himself for the facility? He even
I'm about to say, I'm pretty sure he was getting paid.
And if he wanted to do that, he could have put his name on it. It could have been the Brett Favre volleyball facility.
Right, and kind of made it, like I said, he probably selfish mindset at that time. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure. I mean, he can do it now. I mean, if he wanted to,
And I guess there's a whole other wrinkle to this, considering his child was involved in this.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering about his kid. Is she embarrassed by the situation?
Absolutely. I know she was probably embarrassed. Especially you got a whole documentary of your father out, and millions of people gonna be watching this, and they're gonna see what he did, behind the scenes stuff. So I'm pretty, she don't feel so bad.
And I'm wondering, in general, taking the money, using the funds the way he did, did he do that for his kid, or did he do that for himself?
I think he did it for himself, because like I said, you wouldn't put yourself in a situation for your, because like, they could have been attacking her, the kid, they could have been, you know what I mean? They were ruthless back then, so I don't think that was a good decision.
And then, I think in general, the people who suffered the most from him taking the money were the people that actually needed the money.
Right? Yeah, because like, what are they gonna do now? I mean, how are they supposed to manage? You know what I'm saying? So,
I'm definitely wondering to see what comes out of this, and what the future holds for Brett Favre.
Yeah.
I definitely wish him the best, and I hope that he makes positive decisions moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's all about just progressing each and every day. So, like I said, as long as he's in the right positive mindset, he should be fine. He should be fine, you guys.
Y'all, please let us know in the comments. Have you seen the Netflix documentary, and what you think about the whole situation?
Absolutely.
And then
J&J Sports.
coming to y'all live in 2025.